Hey everybody, thanks for coming to dance with me. I'm Laura, and today I want to talk about the lost fundamental step, jig walks. In this video, you'll learn historical significance, 10 plus versions of the jig walk, entrances, exits, and technique to help make it happen. You may know them as the zany novelty step jig kicks, but jig walks can be slow, romantic, cheek to cheek, and have this full range of character that jazz music has because it is a fundamental step. To help me talk about it, here's my good friend Nathan Bugh. Nathan Bugh.
Laura Glaess, how are you doing?
All right. I think that you were the one that told me about this, but I don't really remember. But you told me about Margaret Batiuchok's thesis.
Yeah, so Margaret Batiuchok, who won the Harvest Moon Ball with George Lloyd and is a really important player in New York and made the New York Swing Dance Society back in the 80s. She had this thesis project in which she interviews Lindy Hop leaders of different generations. And one of the leaders she interviews is Frankie Manning. Mm-hmm. You can get it by contacting her. She will sell it to you, and it is well worth the price.
One of the things that she asked Frankie that really jumped out at me, what is the basic of Lindy Hop? She asked all the leaders that. They all have kind of a different take on what that is.
Yeah, Frankie says the jockey and the jig walk.
The jockey is what gives you the temper and sets your mood. This is the jockey. You get your temper, and then you swing out from there.
Jig walk is Frankie's name for the 6-count basic pattern in the Lindy Hop.
Now the other basic step, or the first step that usually is taught, is the jig walk. So nearly everyone can learn the jig walk because it's very easy. And which goes there, and which is what you say, 6-count, right?
Right, 6-count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the jig walk.
And that was very interesting when I first saw it. I'm assuming you're telling us it was interesting when you saw it.
Yeah.
The only way I had learned it previously was a pattern where you're facing your partner and you kick and you kind of teeter-totter from side to side as though you're driving a truck, like what you've said to me. Now, I had heard jig walk in another place as well because I worked for Elena Iannucci at Dance Manhattan. Shout out to Elena Iannucci, and she had jig walk in the foundational curriculum, and she had worked with Frankie. Let's show people some jig walk, and let's run through some of these variations that Frankie names.
But first, Patreon. Thank you, people of Patreon, for helping to make this video free for everyone in the world, including people like you. If you want to help them out, it's a voluntary subscription, and the link is in the description. There are so many versions of jig walks, so rather than go over all of them individually, let's get into a groove with the rhythm and then shape that groove. Follow along. Start with the basic rhythm. Now get into side by side. Try moving to front. Frankie calls this face jig walk. Move around during the step. Move backwards during the step. Move forward during the kick steps. Twist in and out during the steps. Frankie calls this double jig walk. twist in so much that you move backwards. Move away from each other on the second kick, and then back towards each other on the step-step. Change the rhythm by doing extra steps or extra kick steps. Use the rhythm to move around the floor. And of course, try changing your handhold. Frankie calls this trip jig walk, which is a transition into fall off jig walk. Nathan and I have a bunch of helpful tips, but I can't recommend enough just getting into a groove with that basic rhythm and then moving around. Get comfortable there, see what can be done. You'll probably discover a lot. Let's go over those helpful tips. This is how Nathan and I make it work. In general, 2 things help me a lot. 1, the kicks are nice and low, more about the rhythm than the size of the kick. 2, I think of the rock step as a step-step, allowing for more possibilities. Maybe it moves forwards, maybe it's backwards, maybe it's sideways. Maybe it twists. I love it all. Okay, let's get into specifics, starting with front to front. Frankie calls this face jig walk. Obvious note, we're offset such that our right feet always go in the middle. Let's not kick each other. We also get pretty close. You can see that we're chest to chest. Something that helps me, I feel like I'm tall in my body, but short in my legs. If I'm too bent over, it's kind of uncomfortable to get that close. Let's watch Frankie and Margaret do it. The traveling jig walks. Let's talk about the one where we move backward. Notice how much Nathan is moving his torso and his precise timing. Forward, back, 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 and forward, back, 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 and forward. Look at how dramatic the sway can be. When I follow, I can sway modestly or really accentuated. Let's talk that twisting. Twisting can result from being twisted, but it can also result from a linear change in direction, which is what you see frequently in these jig walk variations. Let's explore that twisting through linear movement strategy. Every time Nathan moves my weight, my entire axis shifts, taking my feet with me. Check out how Nathan gets me to cross by moving me to the side at the perfect time in my footwork.
You can almost lead it on accident.
If he wants me to twist backwards, he puts me on my left foot and then moves me back and to the right. Since I'm on my right foot to accommodate this new direction, my left foot twists over. Obviously, this technique leans hard on weight shifts, balance, and direction. Nathan has to know exactly where I am and exactly where he wants us to go, and I have to be balanced enough and contained enough to receive the message and go in that direction. Okay, this is all great. Now, how do you get into it? To me, the easiest is after a circle. Here's the transition from an 8-count circle to jig walks. At the end of the circle, instead of going back into a rock step, Nathan moves back on that step to set up the first kick. Notice how his lean facilitates that movement and makes it more obvious for me. Also, it's just very cool looking. Now for a bonus entrance that I think is really beautiful, let's try getting into jig walks from open position. Look at what a pretty surprise that is. Nathan knows he's about to make this entrance, so he sets it up by leading some kind of turn to the left for me. He keeps his left arm short and does not travel away from me until the twist out. As he twists out, his left hand moves to the right through the space between us. I keep my right shoulder pretty firm. I don't want to twist out too much, and if I really let my shoulder open up, if I let all that tension go, both Nathan and I lose the tension we need to twist back in again. Okay, all of this is great. Now how do you stop doing jig walks? Honestly, I think the easiest way is just to use that rock step and go into something else. Might I suggest a tuck turn? They are excellent in every situation. Watch old footage, get Margaret's thesis, learn Lindy Hop history, and dance. I hope you had fun and learned a lot. If you did, like and subscribe for the YouTube algorithm. If you like the music, it's the Prumo Orchestra, and you can find a link to it in the description. And half of the money that I get from this channel goes towards organizations that support African diasporic artists and art to honor the culture that Lindy Hop came from. And the best way to learn how to Lindy Hop is to do it. Get out there and dance.
So those are the variations of the jig walk. But that's what we used to call basics, because this is maybe the first step that we'll show somebody.
So the first step is you learned that one first.